Welcome to Me Reimagined, a space where we step into the impossible version of ourselves, a version we only dream of, so we can create lives we love and the impact we are meant to make. Hello from Norway. I am visiting Idun and I am recording from her house. And today we are starting with a question. If your life stopped right at this moment, what would you regret? Would your life have been well lived? This episode will still help those of you who answered yes. My life to this point would have been well lived and my regrets few. But it is those of you who are looking for a total life transformation that will benefit from the next two episodes the most. If you have a lifestyle that checks all the boxes, but which leaves you feeling restless or unfulfilled, and you've been asking yourself, what the hell are you doing wrong? You've been doing everything you're supposed to do perfectly. But even after all that, at the end of the day, or when you wake up in the morning, you find yourself asking if there's more than this. Perhaps it's time to take stock and look at what you are building and how you are building it. I spent decades checking those boxes, and I found that no matter how many times I checked or how well I checked them, they never added up. I woke up listless, wishing I could become part of the mattress rather than having to face the day. I struggled to go to bed because Netflix and wine were the only time when the discontentment and yearning stopped. I had so thoroughly bought into the societal recipe for a good life that I never stopped to consider how well it was working for me. Clearly, if I needed to numb it and wondered why my life, which by society's standards was already well lived. I had married, I had moved overseas, I had a career, I had a full social life, I traveled a lot. But that life had left me empty. So that's a question I'm posing to you right now. Stop the podcast for just a minute and really consider this. In your version of the white picket fence life that you've built, are you satisfied, really satisfied? Is this how you thought you would feel when you checked all those boxes? Or do you feel empty or restless? This episode is part of a two-part series. So in today's episode, we will look at how you are living, the boxes you are checking, and consider if what you've been doing adds up to a life you would consider well-lived, or whether you are checking boxes that have you climbing a staircase to nowhere near a life you would love to have. Today, we're going to help you understand what is in your life. And by that, I mean we are going to uncover the trajectory of your specific life orientation. And we're going to have fun. We'll play with your current life orientation, considering what inverting it, literally turning it upside down, would do, and what the effects of a 180-degree shift would be. So for many of you who haven't done this before, this idea is going to feel revolutionary and risky and perhaps a bit surreal. The second part of this series, the episode on the 31st of December, is going to help you develop the framework that helps you inverse how you run your life. It's going to affect what you gear your life toward, how you make decisions, the types of choices you take, and how you evaluate the strategies that you use to move the needle forward. After these episodes, if you begin practicing this, you will embark on a total life transformation. So to quickly recap, today's episode is going to ask you to look at how you've been living and the boxes you've been checking and consider what is most important. It's going to give you a new frame of reference and put the past year through this lens. Then the episode on the 31st is going to give you the tools to create your own framework of boxes to check that lead toward the life that you love, which might not match society's. And because that may feel risky, we'll close the second part of the series with ways to handle that uncertainty. Now, let's dive in and do an exercise. Now, the two episodes in this series are full of interactive exercises because what we are doing today, it's not a passive reflection. This is an active, I am damn tired of checking boxes only to get the same result. So I'm going to grab the bull by the horns, as we say in Oklahoma. You're going to get in the driver's seat of your life. And for those of you who are thinking, I'm already driving, what is she talking about? Well, let me ask you, has your life, as lived to now, added up to the way that you want to feel? Do you wake up every morning with energy and purpose? Do you end every day feeling grateful because life just keeps giving to you? If not, we are going to reorient you toward what you really want and away from what society tells you that you want. Okay, back to that exercise I mentioned. If you can, I want you to stop the podcast and do these exercises as we go along. Now, if you started listening to this while driving or on a walk, don't worry. Commit now to booking an hour on your calendar this week to come back to this podcast and do these exercises. They will all be outlined in the show notes. So the exercise we're going to do now is to write down 3 goals for 2024. We're going to look back and we're going to change your orientation. Okay, so you write down the 3 goals you had for 2024. Again, pause this as needed. And then write down the feeling that you thought you would have when you achieved those goals. Now, for those of you who had some goals and didn't achieve those goals, that's okay. You can still do this. So you write down the goals that you had that you didn't meet, and you write down the feeling that you intended to have. Now, close your eyes and bring that feeling to life. Really feel it, inhabit it as if you've just achieved those goals. Pause the podcast and really bring it to life. Now, once you've felt the deep satisfaction, the connection, the joy, the freedom, the excitement, or whatever emotion comes up for you, write it down and take a minute to describe it. Then take what you wrote and literally turn it upside down, end over end, so that the writing is upside down. Because that's how you've been living your life. You've been orienting it toward goals that you may or may not have achieved because you're hoping that they'll give you the feeling that you want. Okay, but now it's time to hang on to your hat, because what if I told you that the reason you've been doing it upside down is because the feeling is the goal? Your goal in and of itself is not the goal. It's how the goal is going to make you feel. What if that is the whole point? You only want the promotion, or to find a partner, or to sink your feet in the sandy beach of a tropical island, or to own a big house because of how they make you feel. If you get the big house and then it makes you feel frightened because you're skating along the edge of financial insecurity, or it's so big you get lost in it and can't connect with those you love, well, then you don't actually want the house. You will feel perpetually dissatisfied with the life that you are building in this house. Or if the partner that you manifested makes you lose touch with who you are or makes you feel less than you are, well, then you don't actually want that partnership. Your goals are only your strategy to get to the feeling. The feeling is the destination. It's the home that you're trying to get to. Sometimes you not only don't realize the importance of the feeling, that it is the goal in and of itself, sometimes you actually lose sense of it entirely. So have you ever achieved the goals, the house, the partner, but gotten lost in them? You get so committed to the goal that you don't even realize that they are not adding up to what you wanted to feel. You've checked the box, but you need to numb out your success with shopping or alcohol or busyness. That should tell you something. Part of the issue here is that the goals that may make you personally fulfilled and satisfied don't fit in the societal narrative about a good life. Mainstream culture tells you a compelling story about what will make you happy, which means, if you're like me, then you spend decades striving to create a life well lived based on hedonic pleasures. According to Aristotle, a hedonic life is one based on pleasure comfort, stability, strong social relationships. Now, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with this, but this lifestyle orients itself around dopaminergic activity. You seek things that give you a quick, intense shot of pleasure, things that feel good in the moment, things that check the box and help you avoid uncomfortable feelings, but which don't create that lasting sense of contentment that you're looking for. Pleasure, comfort, stability, well, they add up to ease, but they are often poison for a sense of purpose and fulfillment. And unless life has broken you open to show you there's another way, or you've seen someone else do it, then you don't stop to ask whether society's recipe for happiness is right for you. Is an ever upward career trajectory complete with a white picket fence house and 1.5 kids and a Mercedes what will give you a lifetime of happiness? Or will you wake up in your 600 thread count sheets and ask yourself, what's the point? If you need more than the trappings and you are feeling the smallness of life irritate you, or you are yearning for the sense that your life matters beyond what you can buy, this is what Aristotle calls a eudaimonic life, a life that is primarily concerned with contributing to the greater good. It is through this focus that you layer everything in your life with meaning. With this meaning comes an understanding that the trials of life, your adversity, has a purpose. When something bad happens, you trust that something intentional will emerge from your experience. In this worldview, you can look back on terrible experiences that you had, a divorce, the death of someone you loved, getting fired, or being in an accident, and see how they in some way contributed to bring you to where you are now, and that there is some skill or lesson or connection that you took forward that helps you in this moment. In a eudaimonic life, you also look toward how you are connected to all life, to what your role is in the bigger picture, to how you pay your blessings forward. You focus on the impact you want to make to leave the world better than you found it. Taken all together, sensing meaning in why you're here and how you contribute, being connected to something beyond yourself, and turning pain into purpose turns on your serotonergic system. Unlike dopamine, serotonin is responsible for your gentle, long-term contentment and sense of fulfillment rather than your short-term, intense spikes of pleasure. So it's time to ask yourself, whose boxes are you checking? Are they intentional boxes that you designed for yourself? Or are you just generally following society's recipe for happiness? There's not a perfect recipe for creating the life you love, but there are some concrete things that you can do to shift toward it. And they don't include doing more of what you've already been doing to check boxes that are not aligned with what you want to create. So the first thing we're going to do is look back. We're going to look at the boxes that you checked in 2024 to better understand if this is the right direction for you in 2025. So we're going to jump into another activity. Get your pens out. So look back at the 3 2024 goals that you listed in the previous exercise 5 minutes ago. When you look at those goals, ask yourself 3 questions. Did I get the feeling I thought I would get from achieving these goals? And even more important, has that feeling persisted? The second question is, what did these goals prevent me from saying yes to? So you checked these boxes. Which boxes did you not check because you were checking these? And which of those boxes is more important to you? So that's the second question. What did these goals prevent me from saying yes to? And the third question is, do I have a persistent or reoccurring empty or hollow feeling in life? Despite checking all the boxes, are you still struggling to feel fulfilled? If you find that reflecting on these questions gives you a sense that something isn't adding up, it may be that you are orienting yourself toward the goals you set, giving your all to achieve them, rather than defining how you want to feel, and setting a strategy that is tailored to your personal sense of fulfillment. What comes up for me when I think about you sitting with these questions is that if the answer is no, my 2024 goals did not add up to what I wanted in life, I am not saying yes to things that feel important, or I have a persistent empty feeling. What comes up for me is the costs and benefits to maintaining this framework. It makes sense why you don't set goals that align with society's narrative rather than your own. You are constantly bombarded with the boxes to check on the yellow brick road that leads to happiness. And there is never a point in school or early life when someone sits you down and asks if these societal messages correspond with your values, or even what your values are and what you want out of life. So you follow all the models and start checking all the boxes. And at some point, even if you become aware that what you want is diverging from the direction that society is going, it's hard to untangle your need for acceptance and belonging, or your need for security, from the structures that exist. And by maintaining these boxes, you benefit from fitting in. You benefit from not having to work hard to form new habits and reroute your neural pathways. You benefit from society's pat on the back. But for myself and more of my clients that I see, we are all finding that at some point the benefits stop outweighing the costs. And for myself, when my goals are not adding up to the feeling that I want to have and I feel hollow, and I'm not saying yes to things that feel important to me, my goals are costing me a lot. For you, when your life isn't oriented toward what makes you thrive, do you experience internal struggle, constantly questioning yourself, wondering if you are doing something wrong? Do you experience an energy vacuum that drains you of hope, a mindset that says, if this is what doing it right feels like, I don't want to do it? I've checked the boxes, but I don't feel successful. If this is you, it's time to take stock. It's time to ask yourself how different your boxes would look and what direction your life would take if you started designing your life around the feeling you want to have. Now, as we close this episode, we're going to do a third interactive piece, and we've put together 12 powerful questions that we're going to leave you with to help you reflect. They're going to help you get very intentional about designing a life that works for you. These questions will help you take stock of what you most want at the end of your life, and if the direction you've set and the boxes you are checking are leading you toward that feeling. The questions will help you get clear on what makes you feel alive and how well you are bringing that into your life. I'll walk you through them now, but it's probably easier to copy and paste them from the show notes. Question 1. What is the feeling you most want to have at the end of your life? You need to define this. And remember, the answer to this question is what tells you if you need to inverse your life. If your current goals do not add up to give you the feeling that you most want, you are headed in the wrong direction. It doesn't matter how many boxes you continue to check. Or if you aren't achieving your goals, perhaps this is the key piece related to why you procrastinate or struggle to find motivation or discipline. The more that you can get clear about what this feeling is, how it feels, and learn to keep it centered in your chest, the easier it will be to pass your decisions through it as a filter. So, for example, you ask whether a decision feels expansive, constrictive, and you ask if it would put you further away or closer to the feeling that you want. Okay, the second question. What would you regret if your life stopped now? Multiple studies and more than a few authors that have interviewed people close to the end of their lives agree. People don't regret what they did. They regret what they did not do. What in your life are you not taking action toward? Question 3. Where do you feel unfulfilled in your life? What are you longing for? Discontent and yearning can tell you a lot about how you could reshape your life to build a life that makes you thrive. If you moved away from what you feel dissatisfied with and toward what you are yearning for, how would your life change? Question 4. What in your life is wasting your time? Time and energy are your two most precious resources, but often you don't safeguard them. I lose a lot of time on insignificant household logistics. Yes, they make the house move smoothly, but in terms of my time and energy, if I let these small things go, the household, it would continue to function, and I would give back significant resources to dedicated to what I want to grow. Another major time waster you might experience is social media. How often do you hang out on the toilet longer than needed because you haven't even noticed that you're scrolling? Question 5. What is draining your energy? Ask yourself what leaves you empty. Is it spending time with particular people? Is it planning the meals for the week? Is it getting stuck in your routine? Pinpointing what leaves you empty gives you the opportunity to play. If you flipped it, what would fill your cup in this area? Maybe it means putting boundaries in place or ditching relationships. Maybe it means introducing a new schedule, even varying your normal routes to bring back a sense of freedom. Or actually, maybe you need to go bigger and change things up entirely. Or what if you lose all your energy to the shoulds, and so you have none left at the end for the woulds? Find what is stealing your energy and get rid of your energy vampires. Question 6. What is holding you back? When you sense into what you're yearning for, what stops you from leaning toward it? What fears or limiting beliefs are getting in your way of creating a life you would love? Do you believe you deserve it? Do you feel capable of creating it? Does it feel as if what you want is a fairy tale, not something possible? Question 7. Where are your biggest sources of stress? What is it that has you tearing your hair out? Do you have an internal conflict that rages? Do you find yourself going back and forth, replaying scenes or arguing with yourself? Examining this internal conflict can give you great insight about what's important to you and what you need to make life work for you. What's key here is being able to stay curious and looking at it without judgment. It's also critical to look at the things that you can control, unless you have a wand to magically change someone else's character or bad habits. Question 8. Where are you not saying no and need to say no? As a reformed people pleaser, I can attest how life-changing it is when you begin to say no. Question 9. What does not saying no prevent you from saying yes to? If you started saying no to things that leached your time and energy and had the most magical of all things, free time, what else would you be able to include? If you included time for yourself or starting work on a project that you yearned to complete, how would your life be different? So question 10 is pretty straightforward. What makes you feel alive or like you are on fire? What gives you energy? Question 11. What do you want more of in your life? For me, in 2025, I want more mindful togetherness. And question 12, the last question. What is working for you? We go deeper into these questions in the Meet Reimagined Facebook group, so join us to find support as you begin to check your own boxes to move toward a reimagined life. The link for the group is in the show notes. Today, I feel grateful for my chosen family, for those in my life that have my back the way family would, for those I turn to when I need comfort or to share how proud I feel, who see me as I am, imperfect, and trying as hard as I can in every moment, and who reflect my grace and effort back to me. I also feel grateful for my body. I say good morning to her and thank her every day. She continues to support me even when I don't treat her well. When I stuff too many cookies in her or don't move her, she still shows up for me. Thank you so much for listening. Stay tuned for the second episode on December 31st. If you found this episode interesting or useful, there are 3 low-effort, high-impact ways you can support us. Follow and then rate the podcast. Leave us some stars. And also, if you know someone who needs to reorient their life direction, who is full of discontentment and yearning, share this episode. You can find all episodes of Me Reimagined on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. And if you leave a voice note or a comment, I'll reply. With love, until next time.
You do not carry this all alone. No, you do not carry this all alone. This is way too big for you to carry this on your own. So you do not carry this all alone.